what if the foundation of, one of the world's most stable and wealthiest nations isn't actually built on flawless laws or vaults of gold?
Oh, right.
But what if it's built on a hidden ledger of unpayable moral debts?
Yeah, that completely flips the script on how we view history, I think. Because we're so conditioned to look at a thriving country with its secure borders and a booming economy, and we just assume its stability is carved in stone.
Right. It feels permanent.
Exactly. Inevitable, almost.
But the moment you start inspecting the mortar between those stones, you realize the entire structure relies on something much more fragile.
Right, yeah.
It relies on promises. And I guess more importantly, it relies on the unspoken costs of keeping those promises.
Yeah, the hidden costs.
Exactly. So today we are taking a deep dive into an essay by Dr. Pooyan Ghamari detailing the philosophical blueprint of his novel, Five Oaths, or Fint-Eyed. We're going to explore the anatomy of national memory, systemic accountability, and basically the invisible ledgers that every major institution builds its survival upon.
And the scope of Dr. Pooyan Ghamari's text is just massive. I mean, we are looking at a narrative that spans over 700 years of Swiss history.
Wow. Yeah.
Starting with this desperate lake crossing in 1291 and landing in a highly secured modern-day archive in Basel in 2026.
Right, but we aren't just going to walk through this timeline like a textbook, right?
No, definitely not.
The driving force behind this entire deep dive is unpacking a single, deeply uncomfortable question.
Which is, when a society builds a wall to protect its people, who decides who belongs on the inside?
Right.
And who is sacrificed on the outside?
Yeah, so let's get right into the mechanics of that sacrifice, because the text establishes this core theme, that the price of the we, right at the beginning in 1291 with the first oath.
Solidarity.
Right, solidarity. And the setting is this incredibly dangerous night on Lake Zurich. We have these characters, Anna and Luke, and they're just trying to ferry their family to safety.
But they are completely out of leverage, right?
Exactly. They have no money. And the ferryman exploits that vulnerability. He demands they surrender a contested landing place on the shore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they have to sign away long-term economic and territorial rights just to survive the night.
Which, I mean, that is brutal in its own right.
Yeah.
But the true moral fracture happens moments later.
Right.
There's this other man, Conrad, who is hiding from armed pursuers. And if Anna and Luke bring Conrad onto that boat, they draw the pursuers' attention.
Oh, so they'd endanger the family they just paid a ransom to protect?
Exactly. So a calculation is made. The family crosses to safety, and Conrad is left on the shore to face whatever's coming for him.
And out of this incredibly dark, pragmatic survival choice, the first oath is born.
Yeah.
Which is, no one among us will be surrendered alone.
Right.
Which, if you isolate it from its context, it sounds like a beautiful, noble vow.
Right. And the intention behind the vow is entirely genuine, I think.
Yeah.
Because the survivors are traumatized.
Yeah.
And they desperately want to believe they will never experience that kind of vulnerability again.
Yeah.
But the subtext is chilling. The vow only applies to the people on the boat.
Yeah.
Every time you draw a circle of solidarity, you are simultaneously drawing a line of exclusion.
Wow.
You're actively deciding who is expendable.
It really makes me think of scrambling onto a lifeboat in the middle of a freezing ocean.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
The people who actually make it aboard, they look around at each other, shivering, and they make this tearful, sacred pact to always protect one another.
Right.
But that beautiful pact requires them to completely ignore the fact that just moments prior, they had to literally kick someone else's hands off the side of the raft so they wouldn't capsize.
Exactly.
The vow is real, but it's financed by a sacrifice they just don't ever want to speak of again.
That captures the psychological mechanism perfectly.
Yeah.
You want to remember the survival, but you want to forget the betrayal. And Dr. Pooyan Ghamari's text brilliantly physicalizes this exact psychological split.
How so?
So Anna actually has the terms of their survival recorded on a piece of parchment.
Okay.
And on the front, facing the world, she writes down the sanitized official version of the rights they acquired, the proud history.
Right, the stuff they want people to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But on the back of the parchment, she records the true cost of the rescue, the debt.
Wow.
And she seals it with red wax, and then she cuts a single notch into a wooden splinter.
Which is such a potent symbol, right? I mean, a splinter is literally a fractured piece of a larger whole.
Yes.
It represents the break in their moral standing. But this raises a really fascinating question about human nature for me.
What's that?
If they're so ashamed of leaving Conrad behind, why record it at all?
Oh, that's a great point.
Why not just, burn the back of the parchment and pretend it never happened?
Because a society can't truly erase its inception. Even if you hide it behind red wax, the people who survived know that a moral debt was incurred. The front of the document is the nation's public constitution, right?
Yeah.
But the back is its hidden historical ledger. And this establishes the three questions that will basically define the next 7 centuries of their society.
Which are?
Who gains the security, who pays the price, and who holds the power to decide between the two.
That dynamic is so clear when the threat is external, right? Like a greedy ferryman or armed pursuers.
Right.
But the text forces us to look at what happens when that dynamic turns inward. How does a society survive itself?
Yeah, that's where it gets complicated.
Exactly. Which brings us to the era of the Reformation, where the danger isn't across the lake anymore, it's across the street.
Yeah, we are shifting here from physical borders to ideological ones.
Okay.
During the Reformation, faith ceases to be just, a personal matter of prayer.
Right.
It mutates into your ultimate political identity.
Right. It becomes everything.
Yes. And the specific mechanisms of this era show us how quickly loyalty can be weaponized.
Yeah.
When your religious confession is the only metric for belonging, anyone who disagrees with your theology isn't just holding a different opinion. They represent an existential threat to your reality.
And when you view your neighbor as an existential threat, well, hostility becomes pretty easily justifiable.
Oh, absolutely.
You sort of convince yourself that destroying them is actually just an act of self-defense.
Exactly. The danger the text highlights. And this is where the second oath emerges.
Okay.
Which is, no belief gives us the right to destroy our own people.
Mm.
Notice the phrasing there. It's not arguing against having deep convictions or theological truths.
Right. It's not saying you can't believe in things.
No, but it is establishing a structural moral limit on ideological purity.
So it's essentially saying that, conscience isn't a lack of belief.
Right.
True conscience is possessing the ability to actually see the human being standing in front of you before they completely disappear inside an abstract dogma. You have to refuse to let a concept matter more than a life.
Exactly. And yet, history proves how incredibly difficult it is to maintain that limit.
For sure.
That internal ideological friction eventually sparks actual warfare. Which brings us to the years 1847 and 1848.
The Sonderbund War?
Yes, a civil war within Switzerland. And Dr. Pooyan Ghamari distills this massive historical conflict by pitting two deeply contrasting perspectives against each other.
Okay, who are they?
Vreni Kellen and Elias Keller.
So tell me how they see the world differently. What's the clash there?
So Vreni comes from a Catholic environment, which is the side that will eventually face defeat in this conflict.
Okay.
And when she looks at the country, she sees a fragile web of communities, families, and human losses.
Right, she sees the people.
Yes. Elias, on the other hand, represents the side of the victors. And when Elias looks at the exact same country, he doesn't see people at all.
What does he see?
His vision is entirely bureaucratic and economic.
Oh, I see.
He sees maps, transport routes, infrastructure potential, and rising capital value.
Okay, I want to pause and analyze Elias's position for a second here.
Sure.
Because if I'm Elias, right, and I hold the maps, the capital, and I just won the military victory, I have all the leverage.
You do.
History is universally written by the victors.
Yeah.
So why should someone in Elias's position care at all about accommodating Vreni's perspective?
Well, that's the big question.
Why not just dictate the terms, crush the opposition, and build the fancy infrastructure he wants?
Because Dr. Pooyan Ghamari's thesis points out the fatal flaw in total domination.
Okay.
The top gives us the third oath, which is, victory becomes peace only when the defeated can remain in the country.
Wait, but Elias already has a legal victory on paper,
Yeah.
so why isn't that enough? He won.
Because a signature on a surrender document doesn't equal peace.
Oh, right.
If Elias simply imposes his economic will, the resulting legal contract is entirely coercive.
Right, because they have no choice.
Exactly. Think about the mechanics of it. If the defeated population is crushed by post-war debt, kept in the dark without information, and forced into agreements under extreme time pressure, you haven't integrated them.
No.
You've merely destroyed their alternatives. And that isn't a stable peace. It is literally just a delayed rebellion.
That makes so much sense. So if you don't institutionalize some kind of compromise, your new, shiny infrastructure is eventually just going to get burned down by the people you excluded.
Precisely. And the text roots this philosophical realization in a very real historical mechanism, which is the creation of the 1848 Federal Constitution.
Okay, how did that work?
Well, the victors realized they couldn't just rule by decree, so they built a bicameral system.
Like two houses of government.
Yeah. They created a national council, which favored the larger victorious populations, but they paired it with a council of states, which gave equal legislative weight to the smaller defeated cantons.
Oh, wow. So they physically hardwired the compromise into the government machinery itself?
Yes, exactly.
They basically forced the people with the maps to share a steering wheel with the people who actually understood the community costs.
Right. They secured a permanent place for the defeated within the common political order.
That's huge.
It is. Because without that shared authority, the concept of a unified us is just an illusion enforced by the military.
That fundamentally reframes how we look at statecraft, I think.
Yeah, completely.
But it also leads directly into the next major tension in the text, because once that internal piece is hardwired and the borders are secure, the nation experiences this massive industrial explosion.
Oh, yeah. Huge growth.
Which forces us to ask, once the architects draw the blueprints, who is actually breaking their backs to pull the wealth out of the ground?
Right. And we enter the period between 1872 and 1919 here, focusing heavily on the building of the Gotthard Railway.
A massive project.
It is a monumental engineering feat. I mean, it physically pierces the Alps, connecting the country to the broader economic networks of Europe. It's like the ultimate symbol of progress. But the text introduces us to a man named Marco Rossi.
Okay, who is Marco?
He's an Italian migrant worker.
Okay. And Marco is fascinating, right? Because he kind of embodies the paradox of this entire era.
Exactly.
He arrives with this immense technical courage. He's down in the dark, breathing the dust, spotting structural dangers in the tunnels long before the men managing the project from their clean, well-lit offices even know there's a problem.
Right. He's the one actually doing the dangerous work.
So Marco is physically building the nation's future, but he holds absolutely zero social power within that nation.
Yeah, it exposes a really brutal duality. The system is perfectly designed to integrate people economically.
Right, to extract the labor from their bodies.
Yes. But while intentionally keeping them socially and politically distant, their contribution is essential, but their actual belonging is constantly disputed.
And the mechanism of this exclusion is what really strikes me here.
What do you mean?
It makes me think of how a massive corporation handles a balance sheet. Like, when a piece of heavy machinery breaks down in the tunnel, the bureaucracy treats it as a specific, itemized financial loss, right? There are reports filed, replacement parts ordered.
Right, it's tracked meticulously.
Exactly. But when a human worker like Marco gets sick or dies in that same tunnel, the bureaucracy doesn't record a human tragedy.
No, they don't.
The worker is just abstracted out of existence, filed away under vague terms like miscellaneous overhead or attrition.
Yeah.
They meticulously track the steal, but they intentionally erase the man.
Wow, yeah. That exact bureaucratic erasure is what a character named Elizabeth Keller discovers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she gets her hands on the business ledgers from this era. And just as you said, the books perfectly document every company, every delivery of timber, every single ton of dynamite.
But not the people.
No.
Yeah.
The human beings behind the labor are reduced to abbreviations, or they're just simply omitted entirely.
That is wild.
And this realization sparks the fourth oath.
Which is?
Those who help carry this country must not remain foreign forever.
Wow. It's basically a complete rejection of the idea that basic human dignity has to be purchased through superhuman economic output.
Exactly.
Like, you shouldn't have to be a martyr in a railway tunnel just to prove you deserve to belong to the society you are actively building.
Because economic integration without social belonging is a profound contradiction.
Yeah.
If a nation continually profits off a workforce while indefinitely denying them a place in its shared identity, that nation is quietly rotting its own moral foundation.
Which means, eventually, the bill for all this hidden rot is going to come due, right?
Oh, always.
We can't just keep shuffling these debts to the back of the parchment forever, and that rockets us forward to the present day.
Yes, to the year 2026 in Basel.
Right. And we have to confront what happens when the descendants of the victors finally inherit this massive, centuries-old hidden account.
This is really the climax of the narrative, and it centers on Lina Rossi Dovici.
Okay, and she works as a forensic economist, right?
Yes, she does.
Let's actually define that for a second, because it's not just a cool job title, it's basically the perfect skill set for this specific problem.
It really is.
A forensic economist doesn't just look at public tax returns. Their entire job is to trace invisible flows of capital, right?
Right.
To uncover the hidden vested interests operating behind structures that look completely neutral to the rest of us.
Exactly. Lena is an absolute expert at finding what people have actively tried to hide.
Right.
And she inherits the ultimate hidden account from her mother, Clara.
Oh, wow. What does she get?
Lena receives a highly curated archive, a brass matrix for a red seal, and get this, that original wooden splinter from 1291.
From the lake crossing.
Yes. But now it has 4 distinct notches cut into it.
So Lena is literally holding the physical receipts of 700 years of systemic exclusion.
She is.
And she realizes pretty quickly that this archive she's inherited isn't some objective museum exhibit, right?
No, it's a weapon.
Right. It's this highly curated selection of documents designed to protect her family's legacy while actively denying other people access to their own history.
Exactly. And the text uses the example of a woman named Ruth Zing, whose past was intentionally kept hidden from her by Lena's mother, Clara.
Wait, why would Clara do that?
Well, Clara operated under this sort of paternalistic belief that she was protecting Ruth by controlling when and how Ruth learned the truth.
Oh, I see.
But Lena recognizes the fatal flaw in that logic. As the text states, protection without participation can become another form of dispossession.
Okay, so this brings me to a massive investigative question then.
Okay, sure.
Because if I'm Lena and I have the undeniable historical proof of these varied truths and hidden ledgers, the modern solution just seems so obvious to me.
Which is?
I digitize everything, I leak it to the press.
Oh, right.
I dump the entire archive online and become a whistleblower. I blow up the corrupt system and expose the truth to the world. Why wouldn't she just do that? It seems like the most heroic option, doesn't it?
I mean, the spectacular, destructive revelation is incredibly tempting. It definitely feels like justice.
Yeah, totally.
But Dr. Pooyan Ghamari points out the devastating philosophical trap in that approach.
What's the trap?
Let's look at the mechanics of a leak. If Lena unilaterally decides to dump those documents, she is still the one exercising power over the victims.
Oh!
She is still the one deciding what happens to Ruth's history.
Wow. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
If she plays the savior and just dumps the files, she's basically just replacing her family's old analog monopoly on the truth with a new digital monopoly.
Exactly.
She's still the sole arbiter, deciding what is best for everyone else.
She would be repeating the exact same original sin of the people who hid the truth in the first place.
That is so profound.
It is. And this realization is what dictates the 5th oath, the oath of truth.
Okay.
It states, no inheritance remains honorable while its account is hidden. So when the ritualistic moment arrives for Lena to cut a 5th notch into that ancient whittle splinter, she stops.
She doesn't do it.
She refuses to do it.
Because cutting the notch just continues the family ritual. It keeps the authority locked inside her own bloodline.
Right. The final notch isn't carved into damaged wood. The final notch is an action.
I love that.
The 5th oath demands an actual material transfer of power.
So what does she do?
Lena gives up her family's exclusive control over the narrative. She moves the documents into independent custody.
Wow.
She separates the assets from her family's grip. And most importantly, she hands the decision-making power directly back to the affected people themselves.
She realizes that offering empty apologies means absolutely nothing if you don't actually surrender the leverage.
Exactly.
She can't fix the past, but she can actively choose to stop monopolizing the future.
Which brings us full circle through the 5 oaths: solidarity, conscience, covenant, belonging, and truth.
It is just an incredibly powerful framework. And I think it's crucial to emphasize here that while this narrative uses Switzerland as its canvas, this is not just an indictment of one specific country.
No, not at all.
Nor is it some sanitized national myth. It's a profound exploration of any institution whose endurance comes from its ability to take conflict and continually transform it into shared responsibility.
It redefines the concept of mature sovereignty.
Yeah.
True patriotism doesn't mean hiding a country's fractures behind a wax seal.
Right.
True patriotism is believing that your institutions are actually robust enough to look squarely at their hidden accounts without collapsing.
Which leaves us with a lot to process. We spent this deep dive analyzing the hidden ledgers of a nation across 7 centuries.
We sure have.
But I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought to apply closer to home today. Look at the institutions in your own life, your industry, your community organizations, or even your own family tree. We all inherit some form of stability. But what unacknowledged costs, what hidden accounts were paid by someone else, perhaps generations ago, to pour the solid foundation you get to stand on today?
That's the real question.
Because as we've explored, that ground isn't made of stone. It's made of promises.
And eventually, every promise has to be accounted for.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.